Go inside the Crimson Tide with your hosts Rodney Orr and Gary Harris, keeping you informed on everything Alabama. And now, Tider Insider TV.
Florida at home, you know, with their pitching staff, and just the atmosphere of a super regional is going to be a lot of fun for our kids.
What do you know? Patrick Murphy learned how to coach again. You told me that right before we went on air. I thought it was worth repeating. The Alabama softball team going to its 13th consecutive super regional in Gainesville, Florida this week. No other team can say that in college softball, period. We'll have more on the Alabama softball ladies coming up later in the program. Welcome into Tider Insider TV alongside Rodney Orr from TiderInsider.com. I'm WVUA 23 Sports Director Gary Harris. Our program brought to you each week by Buffalo Rock, proud bottlers of outstanding Pepsi products, and they also distribute Aquafina Pure Clean H2O. That's water. And that's outstanding. Pick up some great Pepsi products or some great Aquafina the next time you're at your local grocery store. All right, the softball season continues on Thursday against the Gators in Gainesville, but the baseball season ended last weekend at Vanderbilt. And Rodney, let me say, because we had tweeted it out and you had put it out on TiderInsider.com, we were scheduled to be joined in studio by Greg Goff, Alabama head baseball coach. I confirmed that with him this afternoon about 2:30. I got a call from a UA spokesman about 20 to 6. Said that he would not be able to make it. Then Coach Goff called me himself just a short time ago to say that he was sorry, but something had come up. He was not going to be able to make it and be on our program this evening. But we are still going to discuss the baseball season, the future, and a lot of things that are swirling out there. And Rod, let's just begin with 2017, and it was a difficult season by anybody's barometer. 19 wins total, failed to win 20 games, only 5 wins in the SEC. Those are horrible numbers. I think it was even polarized more by the fact that coaching changes at Kentucky and Mississippi State, and both those teams did really, really well and are going to be in regionals. Tough year. I mean, that's an understatement. But in your opinion, you know, what went wrong in the transition?
Well, I think anytime, you know, you're on the outside looking in, how can you provide that answer? I mean, I think Greg Goff probably knows better than anyone, and I know everyone on the internet thinks they know, but, you know, the fact is, you know, he probably has a lot better idea of what exactly happened and how it went down than anyone else. So I certainly don't want to sit here and try to judge what happened in this transition year, Gary. It was obviously very difficult. It would have been nice to have had him on and had the opportunity to ask exactly what he might have done differently, if anything. But again, I do think that sometimes when you're a new coach, you're taking over, you're trying to implement your program, it's a lot different than what it was under Mitch Gaspard. We don't really know how the players responded from Coach Gaspard to Coach Goff. You know, sometimes those situations can be very difficult. Don't know that it was, but certainly you hear that there was some, you know, some difficulties in that transition. But regardless, I think, you know, first year, didn't go really well. Now it's his opportunity to recruit, get the players that he wants, and kind of build his program, and he's got to take the next step.
Yeah, and he has experience with this. You know, he has taken over programs at Montevallo. I know that's Division II, but they were awful, and put them in the College World Series. Campbell, they were one of the worst Division I programs in the country, one of the lowest budgets. Started winning 40-plus games, NCAA regionals. Louisiana Tech, a quick rebuilding job there. They weren't terrible when he got there, but they weren't good. Last year they were in a regional. Certainly that success helped get him the job at Alabama. So he has experience turning programs around, Rod, and that's the challenge now, is to get this thing going in the right direction in year 2. Now, there's a lot of talk going on about roster management, who will be back, who won't be back. In baseball, you only have 11.7 scholarships mandated by the NCAA. I know in some states there are lotteries and endowed scholarships and things like that. Not the case at Alabama. They have a strict 11.7. There's only so much money to go around. Very rarely, if ever, does a player get a 100% scholarship in baseball. Coach Goff did tell me last night on the record that every player that was on the roster that's eligible to return is invited back to be on the team next year. Now, I don't know, you know, as far as scholarships, how that's divvied up, who's getting what. All I know is I was told by the head coach that every player is welcome back. There's going to be a lot of new players. There'll probably be some that don't return. But that happens when there is turnover and there is transition.
Yeah, it does happen a lot, Gary. You look, I know he's got a lot of guys that he's expecting to come in this recruiting class. And like you mentioned, I mean, there's only 11.7 scholarships. So how it's all divvied up, who comes back, I think all of those things just remain to be answered, and only time will tell.
Yeah, and the draft's always an issue. You know, let's be honest. There's several really good players on this Alabama team that are draft eligible, and they're waiting to see where they get drafted, how much money they get offered to sign. So it's not just, you know, a coaching staff that's waiting, or players that are waiting to know their status. It's a coaching staff that's waiting sometimes to see where a guy gets drafted and whether or not he'll be back. We know this, and I know, again, there's a lot of internet chatter, and there's a lot of people that are unhappy with what they've seen this year in the baseball program. And I'm, you know, Coach Goff isn't with us. We wish he were here with us. But he knows it's got to get better. He understands that winning 5 SEC games at Alabama isn't going to get it. And in the future, going forward, if improvements not made, there'll probably be a change with the coaching staff. That's just the way it works. And I think he gets that and understands that. It is a results-oriented business.
Yep. Time to take the next step.
As far as the baseball team going forward, again, we'll have to kind of see how it all shakes out. Wish Coach Goff could have been with us to discuss it some more, but we'll take phone calls later on in the program. And if you have a question about baseball or a comment, you'll be welcome to call in and make your feelings known or ask us a question. One final point, Rodney, on baseball. The facility was upgraded. It's as nice as you're going to find on campus in the country. Yes, Alabama has 11.7 restraints, but so does Auburn, so does Mississippi State, so does Ole Miss. Everybody else in the league, whether it's through lottery or endowed scholarships at Vanderbilt, probably have an advantage, can get more people in. I've talked about it before. It's not fair. If it were done in football, nobody would stand for it. If this team had 95 scholarships and this team had 85, something would be done about it. But he knew that when he signed up. You have to work within the rules that are given, and it's his job and his coaching staff's job to find a way to improve the talent level and get better.
Yep, and it looks like they're trying to do that, obviously. I think they've got a lot of guys that they expect to be really good players here, committed, signed, what have you. And, you know, it looks like a very solid recruiting class. But then again, like you said, you never know with the draft what could happen there as well. So we'll see.
But not a good year. That we all agree on. Well, still to come for the second straight week, the softball team will face the #1 team in the country. From the frying pan in the fire, I guess. We'll discuss the matchup in the Super Regional with the Florida Gators. And coming up, as I also alluded to, we'll be welcoming your phone calls, emails, and tweets. You see the information on the screen. Interact with Tider Insider TV right now. So go ahead and give us a call so you can get through. 205-348-9882. That's 205-348-WVUA. Email us, TITV@WVUA23.com, or you can tweet at us. And Brandon does check these tweets. Please don't tweet at me directly because I don't even have my phone out here. Use the hashtag TITV, because if you tweet at me and then you don't get your question on and you get mad, there's nothing I can do about it. Tweet using the hashtag TITV, and Brandon will get to your question. We'll be back with more of the show that takes you inside the Crimson Tide. The one, the only Tider Insider TV will return after the break. Hoop news, and it's good news. Alabama sophomore Braxton Key is returning to the Crimson Tide. He tested the NBA waters but didn't hire an agent, making him eligible to return. The UA Athletic Department released a statement from Key saying he's excited for the future of the Alabama basketball program. I think we all are. And as I said, he's not alone in that excitement. The team also picked up a big-time transfer in terms of talent. Maybe a little baggage there, but Tevin Mack is coming in from Texas. He was the Longhorns' leading scorer last year, averaging just over 31 minutes per game. 6'7" small forward that can really shoot it, but he was suspended indefinitely in January and made his intentions to transfer known. He'll have to sit out the upcoming season due to transfer rules, but will have 2 years of eligibility remaining in 2018-2019. The Alabama softball team was overlooked heading into its own regional because of the controversy surrounding Minnesota having to travel and not being a top 16 seed. But the Tide didn't worry about that. They took care of their business, beating the Golden Gophers twice by a score of 1-0. What games? One of them in 9 innings. That means Alabama's headed to a 13th straight Super Regional, the only program ever to do that, to face another #1 team, the top-ranked Florida Gators.
Florida's a great team. We didn't play them this year in the SEC, so I think it's just going to be a new team for us. But of course we know them just because they are in the SEC, and so they have great pitching, but we do too. So I just think that it's going to be key to have timely hitting for both teams, because I think it's going to be a pitcher's battle the whole weekend.
Yeah, I mean, get ready for maybe some more 1-0 games. It all starts Thursday night at 6 p.m. as Katie Cecil Presley Stadium in Gainesville. It's a best-of-3 series. Game 2 has been moved up an hour, and then the Game 3 Saturday at necessary 4 p.m. All 3 games will be on ESPN. So, again, this is a big-time regional. And pitching against pitching, wow, should be a good one. Well, Rodney, as recently as last week, we've heard from some Alabama fans that weren't pleased with the results this year, but here we are, the Tide going back to the Supers again with an opportunity to reach the Women's College World Series again. We said, we were consistent, even when people were calling here and bending our ear, let it play out. You know, I admit, there was a stretch there in the regular season where they weren't playing great softball. But, you know, Demi Turner was out. They had other injuries. You know, they wound up winning Auburn that final regular season game, won a couple in the SEC tournament, and that regional victory over very fun, not just Minnesota, Louisiana Tech and Albany as well, but they beat Minnesota twice. So the pitching has been phenomenal. You know what? Florida's good, but so is Alabama. And when you're talking about pitching duels, it comes down to getting a timely hit. If the Tide can do that, they may be headed to Oklahoma City again.
That's exactly right. But what you mentioned there, I think this could be actually a pretty good matchup for Alabama, getting into a pitcher's duel, so to speak. And again, all due respect to Florida, but as you mentioned, they've had some issues too offensively. So maybe this is a really good matchup for Alabama. But going back to Minnesota, Gary, what they lost? 3 or 4 games?
Three coming in. Alabama beat them twice.
Unbelievable.
How about that?
16 innings. 0 runs.
That's right. Phenomenal. Another team that recently won a national championship but is having what was appeared to be kind of a down season, the Alabama men's golf team. They won it all in 2013, 2014, finished runner-up in 2012. However, the Crimson Tide getting hot at the right time, too. They're headed to the NCAA championships for the 9th straight season. Head coach J.C. Wells, we said 2 national titles, but he needed a pep talk from his wife about winning with this year's roster.
When you climb the mountain and win a championship, you feel like that's, okay, this is what you do, this is the model, and that's really not right. And she kind of called and said, you think that's the only way to win, and it's not. You feel like, oh, okay, these are the kind of guys you got to have, and this is the scenarios you need, and life's life.
He loves his team. He told Brandon Cameron yesterday, you know, this group is resilient and tough, and look out. We may be an underdog, but we're capable of winning it all. Well, we're headed toward a break, but when we come back, the Alabama football team gets a 2019 commitment. It's a big commitment, literally, an offensive lineman. We'll have the details. And up next, we'll be welcoming your phone calls, emails, and tweets. Again, the information there on your screen. Call in now, 205-348-9882. There's the email address, or if you tweet at us, use the hashtag TITV. We're right back with more Tider Insider after this. Well, the Alabama football team now has more 2019 commitments than 2018. You heard me right. Today, the Crimson Tide received a commitment from 6'4", 320-pound offensive guard Diaby Hammond from Lakeland, Florida. He's big. Hammond joins offensive tackle Pierce Quick and running back Trey Sanders as the 2019 commitment class so far. Rodney, quick thoughts on 6'4", 320-pound Diaby Hammond out of Lakeland, Florida.
Well, as you mentioned, he is really big, but also he had a really outstanding list of people that had already offered him: Alabama, Auburn, Florida State, Georgia, Miami, a lot of really top schools. There were others, Gary as well, Tennessee, Texas A&M among them, that were really recruiting him hard. Again, let's warn, it is 2019. It's a long way off. These guys change their mind a lot, but right now it looks like a really good commitment.
All right, now Alabama fans want to see that 2018 class get cranked up. All right, time to take some phone calls. First up, Plato in Panorama. How are you, Plato?
Hey, guys. Gary, glad to have you back, and
Thanks,
I hope
sir.
you have a complete recovery.
Yes, sir. Appreciate it.
I want to talk about defensive back recruiting.
Okay.
I know with so many of the high schools in a spread and most of the high school defensive schemes are playing zone, I think, at least in my mind, it's imperative for us to get these D-backs into camp, because Alabama's scheme plays so much man and press man that we have to find out who can make that transition from playing a lot of zone to press man. I want to get your thoughts on that.
Yeah, you're exactly right, Plato. That is a great point, Gary. You know, a lot of these high schools do play zone, and I know that's really one of the keys. We talk about 2018 recruiting, and people want to know, well, why in Alabama, you know, lining up with all these commitments right now? And I think they're taking a slower approach. Again, I think they really want to get guys in and evaluate them in camp this year. And he makes a great point about the secondary coverages in high school being a little bit different than what Alabama does. So I think you're right, and I do think Alabama, that is one of Alabama's biggest needs this year, is in the secondary. And I think right now, Gary, again, looking at some of the guys they're recruiting, it looks like they're going to do really well.
All right, good call, Plateau. Let's go over to Bessemer and talk with Zeke. What's up, Zeke?
Actually, Vic. How
Vic.
you doing, Gary?
All right,
how you doing, Gary?
My mistake, my friend.
Rodney.
How are you, Vic?
Pretty good. Good to have you back, man.
Thank you, bro.
My question to you and Rodney is, how good do you really think the upcoming season for the football team will be? And I hang up and call you. Listen to you.
All right, Zeke. I think potentially what we've gotten accustomed to seeing. Alabama competing for the SEC playoff spot and national championship. Now, again, does that mean that they're going to win them all? No. Does that mean that they could come up short? Yes. But from a talent standpoint, from a coaching standpoint, from experience standpoint, even though there's some holes to fill, I think they're in the mix again to win it all.
I'm really excited about the potential of this offense. I think they have a chance to be really good. Obviously, Hurts is back. Did a fantastic job last year as a true freshman. He's only going to be better this year. We saw that in the 8A game. You got Tua Tagovailoa certainly competing and as well. But I think the offensive line has a chance to be really good. I love all those running backs, Gary. They've got really outstanding wide receivers, and they've got more coming. So I'm really excited about the potential of this offense because I think Brian Daboll's going to do an outstanding job spreading the ball around, getting the ball to backs, tight ends, keeping defenses off balance with all the things that he's going to do offensively. So I think offensively they're going to be really good. They should be good defensively as well as they develop a lot of young players. You're replacing a lot of great players on that side of the ball. We've named them before: Ryan Anderson, Tim Williams, Dalvin Tomlinson, Jonathan Allen, Marlon Humphrey, on and on and on. But I do think as time goes on, it's going to be an outstanding defense as well.
Dable probably watching film as we speak. From what I've heard, family time constitutes them coming and joining him in the film room. Maybe kidding there, but it may not be a stretch. The guy, I'm told, is a worker. All right, Reg, you hold. We'll get to you when we come back. Also, still to come, O.J. Howard signed his first NFL contract. Then he headed out to the ballpark, Tropicana Field, to throw out the first pitch at the Tampa Bay Rays game. We'll check it out coming up. Plus, more of your phone calls, emails, and tweets. Again, the information's posted there on your screen. We'll be back with more phone calls here on TITV right after this timeout. Former Alabama tight end O.J. Howard signed his NFL rookie contract on Monday. Then he headed to the Tampa Bay Rays. Why do these guys struggle to throw first pitches? I mean, the guy's an athlete, man. Put me out there on the mound right now. I'll throw it 60 feet, 6 inches in the air. I promise you. Howard was the 19th overall pick by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in April's NFL draft. His signing bonus reportedly around $6.2 million, total contract about $11.1. Now look at that. He's got a good swing. Couldn't throw out the first pitch. All right. Also, this note, Rodney, guy that we really liked when he was at Alabama, thought he was a good player, underrated a little bit. Former Alabama wide receiver DeAndre White re-signed with the Patriots after spending all of last season on the practice squad, and maybe he'll get a chance to play some this year. Good kid, good player. All right, let's get right back to the phone calls. Reg has been holding patiently over in Beeham. What's up, Reg?
Well, to you and Gary both, I'd like to find out what you think, what the reason is for the past 2 or 3 years on the football team. We have a lot of blitzes that just run our quarterbacks to death. Jalen last year, they blitzed him so much we didn't have anybody like Andre Smith or anyone on the right side that blocked well. When can we get another player? Do we have any prospects that could keep that blitz off of him? Oh. And also, was it a masterful coaching job when our softball coach changed pitchers there when Little John started missing the plate and sent Osorio in, and it just wiped him out. And when they started missing.
All right, Reg, yeah, we got you. First of all, in softball, you're right. Great move by Murphy. Little John pitched 5 terrific innings, brought in Osorio, slammed the door. As far as Jalen Hurts, I don't know that he was under that much pressure. There was some, but a lot of those plays were, run-pass options, design runs. I thought Jonah Williams did a great job at right tackle. Cam Robinson was an early second-round draft pick at left tackle. So I'm going to take exception with you a little bit there, Reg. I thought the offensive line did a good job last year.
Yeah, I mean, again, you mentioned it. Cam Robinson, certainly a 3-year guy that did a fantastic job and was, as you mentioned, early second-round pick, I think 34th overall. But, Jonah Williams was a freshman All-American, going to be one of the best that's come through here, and I think he did an outstanding job last year. And, You know, so really I don't think that they had that many issues on the offensive line in terms of pass protection. Maybe at times they did, but I don't think it was necessarily a chronic issue.
All right, and I think, speaking of Jonah Williams, he moves to left tackle. I think this guy's the real deal, man. I mean, he's good. All right, let's get a tweet. And it's from Nick, wants to know, was Jackie Traina or Alexis Osorio better in their Bama careers? Wow, boy, Nick putting us on the spot. Well, Jackie Traina won a World Series, so might give her the edge there. Osorio still got another year and the rest of this season to win a World Series. Pure talent, just pure, and Traina was really good. Don't get me wrong. I love Jackie Traina, the J-Train. I would take Osorio. That's my opinion.
Why?
I just think she's, just as a pure pitcher, is a little bit better. That's my opinion. You?
No, oh, you know, hey, I don't really know. I mean, I think that, you know, I'll say this, too, as far as winning the national championship, I mean, there's a team deal there, too.
There it is. So. You'd like to run either one of them out there. Still to come, Jeremy Pruitt's one season as Alabama's defensive coordinator had a major impact on him, so much that he named his baby after 2 Crimson Tide linebackers, former Tide linebackers. That's coming up next on the only show that takes you inside the Crimson Tide. Look at that shot from our tower cam. Man alive, that's beautiful. We're back after this. And you're looking at Flint Anderson Foster Pruitt, the son of Alabama defensive coordinator Jeremy Pruitt. He and his wife, if the names sound familiar, they should. They honored former Crimson Tide linebackers Ryan Anderson and Reuben Foster with the hyphenated middle name. Wow. Anderson and Foster are both on NFL teams now, but obviously made an impact on and off the field for the Bama DC. And look at that. Little baby right there. Look at it. You see him? He was kind of young. I think he's calling out some signals right now, barking them out.
Well, you know, Jeremy Pruitt recruited Ryan Anderson out of high school.
Well, our beautiful shirts and ties provided, as always, by the Locker Room in downtown Tuscaloosa, home of the original Elephant Wear. Get by and see them in person or shop online. Man alive, they will make you look your best. Also, tonight, we normally go to Buddy's on the third Tuesday. Couldn't make it last week. We're headed to Buddy's Rib and Steak in Northport. Come out and join us about 7:15. We're going to chow down. I'm hungry. That's going to do it for the program. You can catch a replay tonight at 10:30 or anytime at WVUA23.com. For Rodney, I'm Gary. Good night, everybody.